Good morning, everyone. My name is Mighty Stream. I'm going to do your August the 2nd, just for today, in a meditation. I hope you're doing well this morning. Let's go ahead and get into the meditation. The title of this meditation is Practicing Honesty. When we feel trapped or pressured, it takes great spiritual and emotional strength to be honest. Now, that comes from the basic text, page 85. Many of us try to wiggle out of a difficult spot by being dishonest, only to have to humble ourselves later and tell the truth. Some of us twist our stories as a matter of course, even when we could just as easily tell the plain truth. Every time we try to avoid being honest, it backfires on us. Honesty may be uncomfortable, but the trouble we have to endure when we are dishonest is usually far worse than the discomfort of telling the truth. Honesty is one of the fundamental principles of recovery. We apply this principle right from the beginning of our recovery. When we finally admit our powerlessness and unmanageability, we continue to apply the principle of honesty each time we are faced with the option of either living in fantasy or living life on its own terms. Learning to be honest isn't always easy, especially after the covering up and deception so many of us practiced in our addiction. Our voices may shake as we test our newfound honesty. But before long, the sound of the truth coming from our own mouths settles any doubts. Honesty feels good. It's easier living the truth than living a lie. Just for today, I will honestly embrace life with all its pressures and demands. I will practice honesty even when it is awkward to do so. Honesty will help, not hurt, my efforts to live clean and recover. Let's take a moment of silence, followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now, please. Thank you. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. I hope you're doing well this morning. We're talking about practicing honesty. And it's true. It takes great emotional and spiritual strength to be honest when we're feeling trapped and pressured. For many of us, dishonesty was just second nature. It was a part of the game that we needed to play out there because, of course, it was about manipulation, self-gratification, and at the expense of telling a lie or two to get what we want, that mattered very little to us. That we actually showed. But eventually, because we became so accustomed to using that behavior of dishonesty, being dishonest, eventually it just became second nature. But it was easier to handle, right? Mattered very little to us. It was easier to handle because we were high. Today, we're not high. I'm always amazed at how tempted I personally can be when faced with a situation that is uncomfortable, to tell half truths, to lie by omission, leave certain bits of it out, tell what I think needs to be heard, is important, is impressive to get the result that I want. And the moment that thought comes to me, another thought comes. Why would you do that? Why would you back yourself up into another corner you can't get out of with self-esteem? You can't get out of with integrity. You cannot get out of mentally and emotionally and spiritually clean. See, we pick up other behaviors long before we ever pick up the drug. That's why our behavior should be alarming to us when it's not adding up with the spiritual principles of the program. Now, I'm not saying jump hoops over it or through it, right? I'm saying take note. When my behavior is no longer lining up with the spirit principles of this program, tongue-tied this morning, excuse me, but when it's not lining up, it should be alarming. I should think to myself, okay, if I'm starting to become okay with that, how long will it be before I'm okay with this other behavior that I really do have a problem doing? I really judge that like to the max. I can't stand that behavior or people that do it, right? How long will it be before I find myself actually doing that? And because that is a behavior that I put a yet on, how do I even know how I will respond if I begin to behave like that? Who's to say if I dislike it so much that I won't actually use behind it? Does that make sense? So why not just stop at the behavior that you already know is not spiritual? For many of us, it's lying, being dishonest. Sometimes as we become clean, it's no longer about what can it give us. Ultimately, it's manipulative, right? But sometimes it's just that we don't have the courage to tell the other person the truth. We don't want to deal with that, what they're going to go through hearing the truth. It's not always that a person will lie just to benefit themselves. I was talking to some very young people, all of them under the age of 12, and we were discussing lying. And I said, under what circumstances do you think it's okay to lie? And every one of them, every one of them agreed. Well, if you're trying to protect someone, not hurt their feelings. And my question was, why are you trying to protect them? Because I care about them. Okay, well, if you care about them, do you want them to go through life operating out of a lie with lack of knowledge that you could have actually given to them, seeing how you care about them so much? Dishonesty has become something that even our children make excuses for. So, yes, even as adult, practicing honesty can be a task sometimes, but it's one of the fundamental principles of recovery. We should apply this principle right from the beginning of our recovery. When we finally admit our powerlessness and unmanageability, we should be able to recognize that as honesty, because that's what we're doing when we work in the first step. And each time we're faced with an option to either live in this fantasy world or live in life on its own terms, right? Each time we're faced with that and we choose honesty, we choose the latter, right? We choose to live life on its own terms. The more our faith muscle, our spirit of truth, honesty, integrity is increased. That's what we want. So today, when we're thinking about active addiction and lying or the last lie we told, how many other lies did that one lie propagate? How many other lies had to follow that to remain, covered by your secret? Probably many others. And at some point in time, I'm sure, like most people do, we forget the first lie. We forget what we were even lying about. And there's always that one person that remembers a little bit more about the details. And will say to you, I thought you told me such and such. Did I? Did I tell you that? And now all of a sudden, because they're checking us on our lie, we want to become defensive and make it a little bit narcissistic, really, kind of make it seem like they're crazy or something is wrong with them because they remember what you told them. And that's what that means here is that it's easier living with the truth than living with a lie. And I've always said this. I'd rather know who you are than have to try to figure it out. I'd rather know your truth than have to wonder if I'm getting the truth. I hope you've enjoyed the meditation today and make up your mind that no matter what the pressures are in your life, no matter what the demands are in your life, that you're going to practice honesty. And it may be awkward, but the more you do it, the more normalized it should become. My name is Mighty Stream. I've enjoyed talking to you today. I hope that you will have a beautiful day on purpose. I intend to talk to you soon.